Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back to the planet at no cost to you, and there's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement. Only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Bachelorette and Friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Bachelorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
This podcast contains sexual references, coarse language, and adult themes from the beginning and throughout. It is not recommended for listeners under the age of 15.
Hello and welcome to the Bachelorette and Friends. I'm your host, Carla Anita Matiazzo, and today's guest is a comedian. Welcome to the podcast, Nick Carr.
Hey, Carla, how you going? What's happening? What's going on?
Oh, so much stuff is happening. So to give the listener a bit of a background, you and I were actually talking about relationships earlier this morning, and we thought, let's actually use this material for the podcast.
Let's jump on the mics while we're running hot. While I've got something, although I might have already said all the smart things I have to say, and now I might have run out. I'm not that bright. Like I might have run out of juice by now, Carl.
Oh, yeah, okay. This is the gag that you do. You pretend you're not smart. Well, that's fucking bullshit. Let's be real with that, Nick.
You're too kind. You're too kind already. It's 57 seconds in. I'm telling you my secret.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, everybody out there listening, Nick Carr is a dumb motherfucker. Is that what you want?
No, I don't want that either. No.
Okay.
Well, I really want people to actually see me for the real me. See through the balls. Like I want them to go, you know what? No, we used to. All right. Anyway, I've made this weird right off the bat. Good. It's a great start. Killing it. I'm good at this stuff. Anyway.
Well, everybody wants to be seen for who they are.
Yeah, exactly. I want to play dumb, but then I want some people to go, you know what? He's actually really smart. But I don't want to just tell them that. I want them to figure it out.
Right. Okay. Should we let the listener figure it out? Because I already know that because we're friends, so I already know that.
Absolutely. All right.
Should we tell everybody how we met?
Yeah. Well, why not? Let's go. Let's. Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive in. Let's go. Do you want to do it? Do you want me to do it? I don't know. How do you want to know?
I want to hear your version of the story.
No! Okay, all right. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll do it. So I was in Adelaide, your lovely home city, which, by the way, I love Adelaide. People talk about Adelaide like it sucks. I had a great time there. Adelaide's great. Fuck everyone who says Adelaide sucks. I had a good time. But of course I was there for 1 week over a festival, and I got drunk every day, so I don't know, maybe I wasn't looking at it clearly. But anyway, no, I love that. But I was down there for the comedy festival, and you had messaged a Facebook page for a podcast that I had called Car Crash, which is on an unexpected, indefinite hiatus right now. But anyway, we'll see what's going on there. But you'd messaged the page saying, hey, guys, I've got a podcast, let's catch up. And so when you came to meet us, my other podcast partner, he had jetted off to go do something else. So we went over to dinner just with the two of us. And I was coming off the back of a really good show. So I was very hyped up and pretty drunk. And I did not stop talking for probably 3 hours straight, I think. I feel like I just yelled at you for 3 hours. Just really I was very convinced I was the funniest person in the world that night. And I was determined. I was very much trying to prove it to you. I was just yelling at you. It was chaos.
It wasn't chaos. It was lovely. We ended up having a really nice dinner. I had a great time.
I had a great I'm always nervous that I talk too much.
Nah.
It was all right.
No, it was real good. And then we sent a video to Ben Knight as well.
We did, Nighty. Yeah. We sent a video to Nighty. Hey, we're having a good time.
What drink? Yeah. You were asking him what drink to get, I think.
That's right, yeah. What cocktail I was going to get. And I forget whatever I got was delightful. And then I had a non-traditional butter chicken or something because we were at the curry place. We went to a curry place called Daughter-in-Law Beer and Curry,
Yeah, it's really nice.
and it was fucking sick. I loved it.
I haven't
really
been
good.
back there actually since you and I went, but
Oh.
I need to go back there. It's really delicious.
I tried to get it on Uber Eats here in Brisbane the other day, but the fee is pretty huge. Flights aren't cheap right now.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that'd be an issue, Nick. I can imagine.
I had a 15% off discount from Uber Eats, so I thought, I may as well see what how much that takes off.
Yeah,
No,
fair.
so only up to a limit.
Not much.
The 15% is up to a limit of $30, so it wasn't going to eat up a lot of the flight. Yeah,
Okay, that's disappointing.
it's quite upsetting.
Let's go through your love life, Nick. Can you
Okay.
remember your first crush?
My first crush, yes, actually, I can tell you. Let's dive in. The very first crush was a girl at primary school by the name of Sarah, and I remember distinctly. I don't remember much, but I remember writing her a note and then giving her. I'd gotten a toy out of a Kinder Surprise or something that was like a rare one that everyone at the time was very impressed with. And I had that, like a note wrapped in a little parcel, and I was ready to stick it in her desk and win her over with a romantic gesture. But I chickened out pretty hard. Yep, and never did it. Never went ahead. Never went ahead. Absolute coward. Which probably then has an impact on the next, 20 years. Well, I think I've made that mistake a lot of the times over the rest of school. And maybe I was too much of a coward. I was too scared.
So that was
Always
the
too scared
first
to pull the
start of that pattern, Nick.
Yeah, I'm a bit of that pattern. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. And then when I did, the few times I did sort of stick my neck out, it went pretty poorly. Things went pretty poorly. Remember in grade 12, I asked a girl out and it was on MSN Messenger. Remember MSN Messenger?
Of course I do. Did my fucking show. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you talked about it. Yeah. Great show, by the way. So I saw it when I was down in Adelaide. Killer show. Very good.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, I remember. So I asked this girl out over MSN Messenger, and she said yes. And then the next day at school, one of my friends tells me they caught her making out with a guy who was a good friend of mine at the time, but who now is to this day my arch nemesis. Like, I'll get him one day. I'll fucking get him. Making out with him? Yeah, I'll fucking get him. Yeah, he's a doctor in fucking Townsville, but I'm coming for it. Anyway,
Yes,
whatever.
smash
it's
it.
fine.
Yes.
I hope he listens to this. I'm coming. I'm getting you. It's fine. But so she made out with him behind the port racks that very next day. So
Right.
after saying yes, she'd go. So that was brutal. And then what made it worse was him at Wet and Wild, like a week later, because it was the end of school breakup. Him, like, I was just having a good day. Like, I just went on with my life, like, it sucked, but I was just doing my thing. And he approached me behind, like, wanted me to come chat to him behind a slide. And he started crying, asking me not to beat him up. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna do that. That's crazy. What are you talking about? Like, chill out, bro. And he was like, oh no. Anyway, so that I was like, oh, cool. You guys are happy. Anyway, long story short, me and this girl years later ended up going on a one date, but it became very apparent that it was never going to work because she's very religious and I'm absolutely not. So it didn't work. Then she, again, another year or two after that, she invites me and one other guy, one of her good friends from school and one other guy to her wedding. So me and my friend went to all this effort with a present because we had what do you call it, a registry of gifts.
Oh.
We couldn't afford any of the good stuff, so what we got was just all the cheap shit. We just got a whole box of like all the the kitchen utensils and shit, like $4 and $5 things. And then we bought the biggest, most ridiculous, oversized box we could get. It was like a fucking box for a couch or something. Put all these presents in it, wrapped the whole thing, put that on the presents table. First of all, I cop abuse from her uncle for having such an oversized present, and I'm like, oh, it's a bit of an in-joke, like, she'll think it's funny. And he just drunkenly fucking berated me. And I'm like, all right, this is a fun wedding. Then I'm trying to find my names, me and Josh's names on the, on the seating plan for where you're going to sit. And then Paula comes up to us and we're like, oh, I fucking named her anyway. This girl comes up to us and goes, I'm like, oh, where are we sitting? And she goes, oh, actually, sorry. I feel awkward asking this now, but could you guys run the bar? So I got an official invite to the wedding, like a paper invite, but then I show up and they've asked us to work the bar.
Sorry?
So, yep. So she's asked to send me an invite, and then when we got there, revealed that me and Josh were invited. She said she could only invite us. The only way she could get it in with the numbers is if we were running the bar for the night. So we get to the bar, because of course I agree to this because I'm a coward little bitch. I've agreed to this, gone to the bar. Now, of course, this is a wedding of about 120 people, I think, from memory. And it was in Gatton. Now, a lot of them were pretty religious, but also there was another side of very much weren't. So they had gotten, the father of the groom had organised 2 cartons of beer, so 60 beers for 120 people. And they lasted less than 10 seconds.
What the fuck?
So, yeah, they went almost, before the wedding even started, they were gone. So then I go to the father of the groom.
How old was this couple? Were they young?
Early 20s, 22, 23, maybe 24. Yeah, I don't know, pretty young.
Okay.
And so I go to the father of the groom and I'm like, oh, hey, we've run out of beers. He goes, mate, it's the day of my son's wedding. I don't fucking have time to deal with this shit. You're the fucking bartender. You sort it out. And
Sorry?
I'm like, well, mate, I only got told today I was a bartender. Like, I'm not working. I'm not getting paid. Like, technically I'm a guest, I think, maybe. I think we got food, but it was way after everybody else. But, and so then after berating me, I'm like, mate, well, can you just give me some money and I'll go get it? He's like, I don't have my fucking wallet on me, mate. It's my son's wedding. You or the bartender, you sort it out. So, of course, at this point, I've grown a spine and gone, well, fuck you. No, I didn't. I went to the pub and bought $250 worth of beer and then continued working the rest of the wedding. Never to get, like, also, then the father group didn't fix me up later or whatever. I just let it go and then just went on with my life. And then a year later, I get a call from her parents because they'd finally heard through the grapevine about the beer thing, because I didn't say anything. They've invited me over for dinner, given me the money. Yeah, absolutely. They were lovely. They were lovely people. I knew them. So I went over, they gave me the money, and then they apologised for it all, and then told me they liked me better than husband anyway. So who really wins in the end? No, it was still him. Yeah, anyway. Sure, they're really happy. You know.
Right. Wow. Look, that's pretty ballsy, inviting guests and then telling them on the day you're actually working the bar.
Yeah. It's brutal. It's brutal. It's takes a special kind of person, I think. Like, you got to be really I don't know, it was a weird one.
A fuckhead?
Yeah, I don't know, kind of. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, either that or that was
fuckhead.
Yeah, fair.
Wow, that's so ballsy. That's so ballsy. Okay, from that experience, you've already said that there was patterns repeated in regards to being a chicken shit. So we've established that. What are the other lessons that you've learned about yourself in the journey that you've had in love? And how many relationships did you have as a teenager and then as an adult?
Not heaps as a teenager. I dated one girl for a week or 2 weeks at high school. She was had been dating someone a fair bit older, and while it was a lot of fun, it was a fun couple of weeks. But she was very she was a lot more experienced than me, and like I was learning. Some of that was great, but also at the same time we were 16 and we're driving along the car. I remember we were out to her mum's house once. Her mum's driving us, and then she's whispering to me about how once we finish school, we can get married and have kids. And it's like, like I'm 16 at this point. It's 2 weeks in. I'm reaching at the door handle going, okay, I'll just duck and roll. It's not too far to walk home from here. Like, I'll survive. It'll be right. Mum will come get me. But anyway, so I got out of that pretty quick. But that was an early one. And then after school, like right at the end of school, I dated a girl from school who previously I had not really much interaction with at school. No real interest in. We held hands at the formal after party.
Right.
Ended up dating for 2 years, mostly because I think the only reason it lasted that long was because her dad pretty early in wrote me into working for him at the furniture store.
Really?
Yep. So I worked for him for 2 years or whatever. And I think that was I kind of ended up living there. Like I'd stay there, I'd finish up the pizza shop late at night, go over there, sleep in her room, but nothing funny was happening because she was very Catholic and wasn't.
Usually Catholic girls are right up for it. What are you talking about?
That's what I was hoping for. That's what I was banking on. No, I was severely misled with that one. Billy Joel fucking lied to me. There was nothing happening. So he'd get up every morning at 5, he'd come in, open the door, just stare at me like, fucking get up. He'd go and he'd cook me breakfast. We wouldn't say a word to each other. And then we'd go and unload a furniture truck. We'd come back, have a shower, put on our uniforms, and then go to deliveries I'd go and do deliveries to someone else, and he'd drive to Brisbane. And I worked with him for about 2 years. And I think that's the only reason that they just kind of dragged me to it all. So that ended terribly. Then after that, I dated a girl for a couple of years later. I dated another girl for 2 years who had a party. I was more interested in a friend, but she was very much interested in me. And I think a lot of the girls I dated early on to start with were it was just they were interested in me, and I'm like, all right, cool,
right, okay,
yeah, fine, let's give it a crack. So after 2 years of it not working, and in hindsight now, it was parts of it were pretty awful, but in hindsight, knowing what I know now, it makes sense. Because she was the first person that I was really, I suppose, having regular sex with or anything like that. And so this informs another big part of my life. So I started off thinking I'm fucking really bad at sex and was just terrible at it. Was poorly equipped, didn't know what I was doing. And after having waited, because I was quite a late bloomer, didn't start having proper sex till I was 21, I think. So a bit of a late bloomer, and then that just shot all the confidence to hell. I was like, I'm fucking awful. After we broke up, found out about a year later she's actually gay, she's a lesbian, and I think, and it's like, oh, that makes way more sense because there was no way I could have won that. I have the wrong equipment. I was, from the starting point, but there's still that bit that sticks in the head. It's like, oh, I'm real bad. I suck. I'm terrible.
You still think that?
There's still a part of you, absolutely. There's still a part of you. Look, the listeners need to see the look on your face, Carr.
Look, I've heard down the grapevine that you are a fucking monster in bed and know exactly what you're doing.
Well, it's very kind, thank you. Please relay my thanks to whoever you heard that from, and tell them to keep spreading the word. I really appreciate that. Let's just get that out there. More people need to know. Do you know anyone the age? Sorry, the advertiser.
I'll write a review.
Look, I just hope it's better than the last review I got from the Adelaide advertiser. That's all right. But, still, again, even sort of having way more experience now and there's still, you have these events when you're younger stick with you because they're the formative ones. They're your first ones. And so that's what stays, even though I know intellectually now that that's maybe not the case.
It's not the case.
But there's still a part of you. Yeah, thank you. But there's still a part of you that goes, nah, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're dumb. You're bad. So I don't know. So that was ideal. And then after that, sorry, I'm just going step by step. I don't know if this is.
Yeah, no, you're doing the right thing. I'm loving it. Keep going.
If I'm talking too much, I'm going to shut the fuck up.
Absolutely. No. Don't shut the fuck up. Keep going.
No one loves the sound of Nick Carr's voice more than Nick Carr. So, but yeah, so then after that, it was the first time I met a girl I really liked, and I really went for it. And it was a bit of a rocky start.
What do you mean by went for it, Nick? What do you mean?
When I met her, I knew I liked her. I told her I liked her, and we kept seeing each other at because we had similar mutual friends. And a close friend of mine she had met and become friends with through roller derby. So we started hanging. We were always at the same social stuff, and we kept hanging out. And I was clear about that I liked her. And she sort of said that she was pretty confused by it all because she, at that point, thought she was a lesbian. And I'm like, well, that hasn't stopped me before. Anyway, that's terrible. That's yuck. Sorry, that's fucking no good. But I'm like, oh, okay, well, fair enough. So I'd sort of back off a little bit, but then we'd keep wanting to hang out with each other. And it was very clear that there was some sort of, there was obviously something going on. So I've sort of told this story, I think, on another podcast, but she was the one that, like, I went all out trying to impress her. And the night we'd met, I was drunk and something different for me. And I bragged to her that I could make Maltesers, having absolutely no idea how to do that. And she was like,
that's a very bizarre thing to brag about.
I brag about bizarre things. I brag about normal stuff. Fuck that. That's for nerds.
Sure.
But so I've told her, no, I can handmade Maltesers. I'm so good at it, I'll make you a fucking wheelbarrow full of Maltesers. And so I show up at this, going to this present for her. I told her it was for her birthday, but it wasn't her birthday, it was miles off. But it was I'd handmade, I bought from Kmart a kid's toy wheelbarrow, which is about this big.
Aww.
So it made the job a bit easier. And then I handmade a bunch of Maltesers, and then also she liked dinosaurs, so I bought one of those from National Geographic, like a dinosaur head that you open up and there's little dinosaurs in there. So I had that sitting in the Malteser. So I presented that to her and won her hand, some would say, So we dated for a long time, ended up living together for about 5-6 years. There was definitely parts where it was rocky on and off. And this might come into what we were talking about later. She got very, at one point, started getting quite jealous and trying to go through she went through my phone at one point. I'd left my phone unattended, she went through my phone. And she found a message from 2 years before we'd even met to one of the other girlfriends saying, I love you. And she goes, well, she said she went through it because she was concerned that I was cheating on her or something, but honestly, I was spending every second I had available, I was spending with her. There was not really any, and we were pretty much living together. I don't know, it was pretty, but she became really concerned then that there was, and she never sort of let that up. She was constantly trying to go through my phone or my internet history or whatever. She was just very insecure about it all. And to the point where one day she came home from work on a Saturday and was like, I don't, and there was something clearly wrong. I sort of asked her, what's going on? She tells me that she'd been messaging all these other guys from her school. Because she was, and I'll say this for dudes, we're fucking scumbags. You hear someone tells you they've got a boyfriend, that doesn't slow anybody down.
Really?
Doesn't really, yeah. Her inbox was constantly full of just these dudes that she'd met from other traps or guys from school hitting her up.
Wow.
Just having and literally going, oh yeah, your boyfriend's probably, I bet you he treats you bad and he's a piece of shit. And it's like, oh, well, no, actually he heard I had a bad day at work, so he ran a hot bath and cooked me dinner. Had that waiting for it. I used to go with her, went to so much effort. I was really busting my guts the whole time. And anyway, so she said that she...
Nick.
Yeah, look, it was. Yeah, look, I don't know. It was. But I don't know. Sometimes I worry I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Sometimes you think, am I doing this because I just want to make her feel good? Or am I doing it so I can tell everyone I'm a good guy?
Okay, good question. I can't answer that one for you, but I guess maybe it's a bit
I can't either. Sorry, you go.
Maybe it's a bit of both, Nick.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of that.
Yeah, in the act of giving, there's always a bit of self-satisfaction there, but it only becomes a source of contention, tension and stress when you're the only one doing the giving. And then that's obviously not, feeding the whole, I just want to tell people I'm a good person and I'm able to back that up with evidence, then that doesn't come into play anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Look, she wasn't terrible. It wasn't like she was doing nothing. She did nice stuff too. So there was a bit of back and forth. But then when she was telling me she'd been messaging all these other guys and sort of, again, hadn't really done anything wrong. There was no cheating or physical contact or anything. But it was like she was talking to all these other guys, and I was a bit hurt. And I was like, oh, all right, well, if that's sort of, if you're that unhappy that you're sort of seeking stuff from elsewhere, then because at that time too, I was working very hard on. That was when I was sort of early in my career at my day job, and it was one of those jobs where the more you work, the more money you got. And I bought a house, and I was like, all right, well, I was sort of trying to build a life, what I thought was building a life for us. So it's a classic thing of I was going real hard to try and get a lot of money, and then she felt neglected. And then I felt, I was upset because I thought, oh, she's being ungrateful. I'm doing all this work to try and get all this money. It's that classic thing where you think, like
you can't
really
win.
Well, not that you can't win, but it's like I'm like rather than just listening to her and going, all right, well, she doesn't care about the money. Just pay it, like stop working so hard.
Yeah.
And just chill out a little bit. Like if I'd done that, although definitely at times though she still needed a lot, because she wasn't earning much, and so I was covering a lot of bills and stuff like that as well. So there's definitely an element of I still needed to get the money. And I took her on a big trip for her 25th birthday to Disney World, and it was like a 5-week trip across the United States and Alaska because she liked dinosaurs, and there's a restaurant in Disney World that had animatronic dinosaurs in the restaurant. So I wanted to do that. Which we broke it up. The first time we broke up was probably a couple of months before that, and then funnily enough, we got back together a month before the trip. So yeah.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. Oh, look, it was probably me that was pushed it at that point. I was like, I wanted to try again, but it's one of those relationships that was sort of mostly doomed from the start. Not doomed from the start. I reckon from the point that she went through my phone.
That would have been enough. That would have been enough. For sure.
End. That's once that happened, and she could then because that sort of seemed to feed her paranoia. It was almost like even though she didn't really find anything, the only thing she found on the phone were messages from 2 years before when I told her previous girlfriend that I loved her, and she's like, "Well, if you love her and you broke up with her, then that means you don't really love me." And then that just seemed to kick the paranoia into a whole new level. Even though they didn't find anything, or she didn't find anything, it still sort of somehow managed to ruin the relationship. I don't know. Yeah.
So there's a lot in that sounds really familiar to me in regards to how much you value yourself and what you put up with. The boundary of her going through your phone. I know I've done that in the past with one boyfriend, but that's because I knew he was up to something. And consequently, me finding a message on his phone with him looking for other houses to move out to when we had been living together for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, that ended our relationship. From what you were saying before, it sounded like she was going through your phone because she was doing the same thing. She was talking to all these other guys, so therefore maybe she assumed, well, if I'm doing it, then he's doing it.
Yeah, maybe. There was a bit of a gap between there, but I think that was the start of the paranoia then, and that paranoia just stayed with us. It didn't go away. Her going through, even though she didn't find anything, it wasn't like she was like, oh, cool, there was nothing in this, we're fine. It still somehow set her off finding a message from 2 years ago, and then from there, I think because then she constantly thought, she was constantly wanting to check my phone, constantly that messaging.
Did she ask? Was she asking or was she just taking it?
No, the first time I just left it downstairs and she just grabbed it. And then at the house we were living in at that time. But then after that, I think that, once she started thinking, oh, what if he is? I think that the paranoia, even if there was even though there's nothing going on, she just kept constantly worrying that there might have been. And then I think that combined with the fact that I obviously wasn't giving her the amount of attention she needed made her, and I think that's when she started messaging. It was all these other guys were messaging her the whole time anyway, but that's when she started replying and flirting back and stuff. So I don't think it wasn't that quick. It wasn't straight. I don't think she was the one, she was doing it back then. But I think it definitely led to her feeling somewhat neglected, and she just couldn't get rid of that feeling that there was something going wrong. Even to the point where years after, when we finally did break up, it was just for me. It was just a point where every day I felt sick to my stomach, and I was just like, "This isn't going well." I just wasn't happy. It was essentially just I really wasn't happy because we were fighting all the time. And it wasn't a positive, fun relationship. And we'd have these big fights and have these big talks and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do this differently. But
and nothing would change.
Yeah, and so for whatever reason, for either of us, neither of us were really. I don't blame her entirely. Like, I'm not saying it was all her fault. Like, I definitely, as I said, I wasn't doing the right things. Maybe if I just listened to her and actually just paid her more attention than trying to get more money and all that stuff, it might have gone very differently. But
do you
I think it got to a.
though? But do you think that though, Nick?
Maybe not, but. When I'm saying we both made promises in these arguments as to how we'd fix it, and I don't think I was really probably keeping up my end either. So, I'm not saying it's completely my fault, not saying it's completely hers. It's a mix of the two, absolutely. But it got to a point for me where I just couldn't do it anymore. Like, I'm just miserable every day. There's no point being in this. So then I pulled the pin, and she didn't really want to at the time. And she kept asking me, like, why? And I'm like, I'm just unhappy. Like, it's just, we fight all the time. And it's just, it seems like all we do is fight. I'm always feeling stressed and anxious about it. Aww. I don't want to feel that anymore. But even to the point where, like, years later, she came back to Toowoomba. Because after we split up, she went overseas and then ended up meeting someone over there, and she stayed over there. And she came back to Toowoomba, and we just caught up for coffee once. And even then, years later, she was like, I just need to know, like, I won't be mad now if you tell me. I just need to know, was there another girl, or were you cheating? Like, why did we break up? Were you cheating on me or what? And I'm like, no, it's what I've been telling you the entire time. I was just unhappy. Like, it was just, bless you. Like, it was like, even then it stayed with her, that fear of there being some other reason, something underlying it. It was like, just the relationship just didn't work,
Do you think that is the love of the drama rather than the love of the person?
Could be, yeah. Probably, maybe, yeah. I've never really been able to work that out. I don't know.
Look, with the guy that I was with for such a long time, and literally, like, we weren't suited because of our personality types, and for various other fucking reasons.
Sounds like he wanted a bit of a mum. He wanted a mum, like someone to look after him and do all the shit so he could stay around and play computer games. Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to disagree with you. Do you feel that there have been times in your life through the relationships that you've had that they've been a clear reflection of how you feel about yourself, Nick?
Yeah, look, as I said, like, a lot of the people I've dated and other friends that have commented to this on me, it seems to me that the people I get in a long-term relationship with the exception of that one long-term one that I said, we really fell for quite hard initially. With the exception of her, like, every other person I've been in a long-term relationship with, or anything more than a month or two, it's been more a case of they liked me and I wanted a girlfriend rather than they're someone I really liked. And so I suppose for me, maybe it is just like, it's like, oh, well, I can't seem to land the girls that I really like. Yeah. So it's better than not having a girlfriend, and that's... Yeah,
that's not a good place to be in.
No, and it's not, and it never goes well, and it never, they don't feel good, I don't feel good, like nothing, it's not ideal in any way, shape or form. It's pretty awful. And that's the pattern I'm in now, is I don't know sort of how to, like, it seems like all the girls that, anybody really that I tend to date a little bit now ends up being people that don't want kids, which is always weird for me, because I absolutely want kids, and I'm very clear about, like, I don't think I ever really give any indication that that's not what I want. Like, I'm not ever going, no, I don't really want kids. I'm quite open about it. I'm on the record, like, it's on my Hinge profile, I want kids, sort of thing. But then it seems to be, I don't know. I mean, I'm in a weird pattern now of, I've been on a few, like, I feel like I'm at a point where I actually know exactly what I want. Mm-hmm. Exactly what I want in a partner. And then, but it feels like, you sort of, there's been a few times in the last year or so where I'll go on a date, and for me, it's the most fun date I've ever been. It's really fucking sick, and I have a great time.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's incredible. And then they match that with, they're telling me that they're having a great time too and whatever else. And then after the date, you don't hear from them. Like and you send a message and you get no reply, and you're like, no, okay, like, this is very different to, and you're like, okay, what did I do wrong? And it'd be really great just one time to hear what you did wrong. Like if there was just one thing you said or something that made them go, oh, no, on reflection, maybe not. I did have one experience like this a little while ago where I went met a girl off Hinge. I wasn't, like, just the conversation over message was really fun, but that's fine for me because I hate conversations on Messenger. I really struggle with it. But we went on the date, it was surprising. I didn't have high hopes for it initially, but blew me away. Very surprising. Had an amazing time, and she seemed to be very keen again, the whole way through. We ended up booking, because we both were living with our parents, we ended up booking accommodation in Brisbane City, drunkenly at a bar going, all right, let's go hang out somewhere. Let's keep this going.
Cute.
So we spent the night together, and then even on the next morning, she said, oh, my friends always tell me I fall for guys too quickly, but I don't know, I really like you. And I'm like, great. And she's like, let's talk in a couple of days and we'll work out, we'll see each other next weekend. I'm like, sounds great.
Uh-huh.
Half an hour later, she's messaging me going, oh, this is what I'm up to today, and it's all flowing. The next day I get up, message her at 10 o'clock, going, oh, hey, I'm at, Killarney today for work, whatever. How you going? Absolutely nothing. For 2 days, and then she's like, oh, sorry, I'm not interested. And I'm like, hey, all right. I mean, I was kind of like, well, that's a real shame, you seem really into it. And she literally messaged me going, bitches, hey, what are you going to do? I'm like, all right, okay.
What?
That's weird, but yeah, I'm like, okay, fair enough. Then about 3 days later, she messages me going, hey, I'm running an event for the Greens Party. It's I'm quite open about being a pretty big supporter of the Greens Party. She's like, can I book you for a comedy show? And I'm like, yep, sounds great. So she booked me, and then I recommended a friend to another friend, sort of the girl that was now my housemate, Gemma. Recommended her the show. We go along, we do the gig, bombs awfully, but immediately this girl, again, the chemistry's there. She spent the whole night, even though she run this event with me, chatting or whatever. We're chatting at the end of the night, and then she goes, oh, just out of nowhere, she comes out with, do you want to know why I never messaged you again? And I was like,
yep.
Do I? Maybe. I'm like, okay, this is weird. She goes, I can tell you hate yourself. Fair, can't argue with that, and again, and that's kind of where it ended. Then again, spent we didn't, nothing happened that night, but we hung out a bit. And then, yeah.
How did that make you feel, Nick?
I mean, it definitely didn't make me hate myself less. I'll tell you that much. I don't know. It was a weird one. It was a real weird one, because I don't know. I still never really worked that out. I don't know how you deal with that.
Yeah, fuck.
I don't know what you do with that.
I don't know what you do with that.
I don't know. Yeah.
I got nothing.
Sick. I don't know.
That's pretty confronting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you
So,
when she said that to you? Were you just like, what? What did you say to her when she said that?
I think I laughed and then changed the topic because I was just very uncomfortable. I didn't know. I don't know what to say with that. What do you?
Yeah,
the more you try to convince someone you don't, the more it sounds like I don't know. It was full on.
Crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, that is full on. I'm actually speechless. I don't know how to. I don't know what I'd do in that situation.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it was I just.
I don't know what I'd do in that situation. That's.
Well, I can actually tell you what I did. As I said, I laughed at the topic and then poured poured 40 more beers into my mouth and
Oh, shit.
fell asleep
Okay.
pretty. Yeah.
Going back to the kids thing, it's interesting, Nick, that you want kids, but you're attracting people that don't want kids. That seems to be my problem too.
It's a weird one. It is a weird one. I don't know.
I don't understand
I don't know
how
if
that or why that happens.
I'm wondering if, like, especially because a lot of my my on-stage persona, and I suppose the way I'm this big crazy party animal or whatever. So I don't know whether that makes people think, oh yeah, he's never going to settle down. Like, he's just, but I mean, that is somewhat like a stage, like an actor stage. I mean, it's part of me. There is a part of me that loves partying and that, but that's not all of it, So I'm wondering if people just see that and go, oh, that's all. He's, oh yeah, I can just have fun with him.
Because people don't know how to disconnect the performer from the person. General public, they don't understand that they are different versions of the same person,
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. People don't understand that. People don't understand that. Yeah. But look, I've always. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, you go.
I'm finding that quite frustrating. I'm finding the fact that I attracted as an adult. So the guy that I was engaged to at 21, we both wanted kids, but that didn't work for various reasons. And then the guy I was with for the longest amount of time kept saying he did want to have kids and dangled that and kind of appeased me when we'd talk about that together. And then that didn't work out. And really, in the end, he didn't want kids because he still hasn't had them now and he's nearly 40. So really, he doesn't want them. And then I've dated on and off. There was one guy I dated on and off that just to use that as a carrot to keep me around. And then, I don't know why I keep attracting people that don't really want kids.
I think it's hard when, especially when there might be bad actors out there. Say, I mean, this might be a slightly different situation for you than me, because I think it's the gender dynamics are a bit different here. But I think that because you're an incredibly open and honest person, which is very rare and it's such a great quality.
Thanks.
But then when you're so upfront with people, you're giving them all the ammo they need to tell you what you want to hear straight up the front. And it's so fun because I don't think you should change how you are at all. But it is so hard for them. Those people just hear that and go, oh, okay, I can just tell her, oh yeah, no, cool, yeah, I want kids too. Oh, you want? Oh no, I absolutely want a serious relationship. Oh yeah, like it's so easy to tell you exactly what you want.
That? But why?
People are fucking awful most of the time. I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people who are just shitty. Like actually, it was funny after we spoke this morning, I went and listened to an episode of a Guardian podcast, which I'd strongly recommend to anybody because this has come up. I've got quite a few friends at the moment dealing from all different walks of life, all dealing with a very similar situation. They've got a friend or a sister or a loved one somewhere that is currently or just gotten out of or getting out of or dealing with a relationship built on coercive control. And so after we talked this morning, I re-listened to a podcast about.
Can you send it to me, please?
I absolutely can. And I recommend anyone listen to it because they talk to an expert and they go through. It's the story of Hannah Clark, the Brisbane girl who her ex-partner set her car on fire, and her and her children. And it's talking to her parents about the signs and the things leading up to it, and how much of just an incredible pattern it is. These people who are just clearly they seem to know exactly how to pick their victims. Their history is the way it unfolds is so repetitive. It's such a set pattern that you can they can predict it. Like talk about it at one point in the podcast. There are these 3 risk classes, And if you've got all three of those, which that Hannah Clark did, there's like a 900% increase that you'll be murdered by a domestic partner. Like, it's so scary how predictable it is, and yet how frequently it happens. And all the friends I've talked to lately who have dealt with something like that, it's all the same story every time. It's so incredibly and one of them in particular, I remember saying something when he told me something. Just, it was just an offhand comment about something that his partner had done, and I'm like, oh man, you got to watch out for that. That's pretty fucked up. And he's like, oh no, I don't think it's that bad. And I'm like, no man, that's textbook. And then 3 weeks later, they find out that he's got him to lie. They actually lied to the girl's parents about when their baby was born, because he didn't want her having the parents being involved in the birth at all. Yeah, like, that's one of the things I've heard. And it's like, listen to this stuff. It's like, it's all that controlling who you talk to, what you say and when. And it's such a set pattern. And it's like, and I just really listened to that this morning. It really bummed me out. I don't know. Sorry, listeners, if this is super depressing, but after we were speaking this morning or whatever, I went and had to re-listen to see if the pattern fit. Like some of these people I've been talking to lately, to run through myself and go, oh, these patterns, and you're like, fuck, like, it's so scary how that can happen.
Terrifying. It's terrifying. It happens way more, like, and this is the thing that I struggle with, is it happens so often, and if it is textbook, which it is, like, the patterns are easy to detect. Why is this not out in the general media? Why are we not talking about this, Nick? Why is the general population not talking about this? And why are people not stepping up and going, hey, mate, you're actually exhibiting things that are pretty textbook dangerous stuff. You need to go get some help.
One of the things I think that stops people talking about more is, number one, it's up until it gets bad, it's all very, like, up until it actually gets that extreme, it's all very quiet inside the house. And that's part of the intentionally cutting people off from their friends and family.
Yes.
But then, they go, oh, like, it conditions your friends and family to stop checking if you're okay, because it's always like that, and they think, oh, well, fuck her, she doesn't want to talk to me then, fuck it, fine.
Right.
You sort of stuff, like, and that's when then, after that's been established, that, like, I was in a relationship 2 years ago. I think I told you this a little bit about when we went out in Adelaide. Like, there was a girl I was seeing who was on a mission and look, I don't know where this would have ended up, but she was on a mission to stop me from seeing my friends and family. She was slowly cutting, like, telling me that my best friend Stephen's been my best friend for 30 years. 30 or 28 or 29 years or something now. We've been best friends. Trying to tell me that he's actually a really toxic person in my life, and that I really need. And it's like, what? Like, in what world? And I, for a second, like, at least went along with her, like, the warped logic of going, maybe she's right, maybe they are. Like, I don't know, maybe am I? Like, I start questioning it. And I told you, I suppose, that I was lucky I got out early enough that like, you look very, actually, that's insane. Like, that's so, because it absolutely can happen to men too. Like, it's the same.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's I'm not saying that it's, like, a bigger problem with men or whatever. I'm just saying that that's an example. But I suppose I was lucky and like, fuck that, and got out early enough. But it is but so much of it is behind doors, and then it's. People don't want to get involved in other people's relationships a lot of the time. Like, I mean, I remember younger seeing mates with girlfriends, and I suppose you're at high school and just after or whatever, and girlfriends who are horrible to them, and you can't tell them, because as soon as you tell someone their partner's shitty, the brain's natural instinct takes over and goes, no, if you admit that, then you're admitting that you've been fooled or taken advantage of, or you're admitting you're a victim. And everything in your brain shuts down, and then you start defending him. You start going, no. You don't understand. He actually loves me, or they actually love me. You don't really. I'm only giving you one side of the story.
Yeah.
I'm telling it wrong. Like, I'm not giving you all the great things they do and whatever else. But like, doesn't matter how many great things they do. If they're doing these things, that's flat out not okay. But because so many times, like, there was a girl I used to work with who. So I remember it's just like an interesting example of where she started, like everyone else in the office, like the three other guys that I worked with, it was because she was our job coordinator and there was three other guys. The other two guys were married. I was in a long-term relationship. She starts dating this guy. She had two young kids and she goes, oh, I just met this guy. He's the best guy in the world. I'm so in love. Like it's happened so quickly, but I'm so in love with him. It's incredible. And, like we're sort of, I suppose, somewhat protective because she was our friend, like we'd worked with her for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the more she told us about this guy, we were like, oh, he's seen shit. And like she even showed his tattoos. He had tattoos on his knuckles saying fuck or fight. And fight was spelled F-I-T-E. And we were like, what the fuck? That's the worst thing I've ever heard. She goes, no, you don't understand. It's like a thing for him and his mates from when they're at school actually means something to him. And you're like, what could that possibly mean that you would think that this is a guy that's good to be around your kids? And, and she's like, oh, it's because him and his friends, they weren't, when they'd go out in Rome or back in the day, they weren't allowed to go home until they'd have one or the other. I'm like, what?
Pardon me?
You weren't allowed to go home until you had a fuck or a fight. Like, that's not meaning
That's
something.
gross.
That's a fucking word.
Gross.
And he legitimately had warrior tattooed up one arm, like a one forearm, in like that old cursive fucking medieval font. It was so, and then, so like these are the things that like, okay, like I don't judge anybody on tattoos generally, but it's like he had enough of these fuck sayings and stuff. You're like, what sort of person is this that you've got around your kids? And she's like, no, he bought both my son's motorbikes. He's so like great with the kids. Kept telling us all this stuff, and then when we sort of said at work, like, we don't think this guy's great. Like, like I don't think I'd be letting him around like I don't think he's treating you right. You're jealous. You just want me to, she's saying this to all three of us. We're like, no, we're actually all pretty happy in good relationships. We're actually just genuinely concerned for your well-being.
Yeah.
And she didn't listen to us. Then turns out later on down the track, he used her name to get a bunch of credit cards, got himself in a huge amount of credit card debt, fucked off with some other girl that he'd also knocked up while they were together after knocking her up. And then later, someone stole the motorbike that he'd bought for her sons. So when she reported to the police, they were like, oh, those bikes were actually reported stolen 2 years ago. So he'd stolen the bikes to give to the boy. This is but he'd done such a great job convincing her that their love was special. Like, the love bombing is the initial stage of the thing. Is like you go so far over the top that people can't believe they're being swept off their feet. They're like, oh my God, this is what I've always wanted. And they mirror so much of what you want to hear. They're so good at picking up those things and reflecting that back to you. And then you go, wow, I've got this great connection with this person, and it's amazing. But it's just.
But then how do you work out what's genuine then, Nick?
I have no idea. I suppose when things go at a pace they should. I don't know that they should.
What is the pace that they should go? Like I'm about to be 35. I'm at a stage, like I studied fertility in my degree, right? Yeah. I know where I'm at fertility wise. Like that's terrifying enough. I've been single for a very long time. Like there's so many pieces of the puzzle at play.
I think that's the thing when you focus too much on, and look, because I'm very aware that it's a very different situation for women and men in the fertility is a big issue. But also, like, because I'm someone in the same position too, where I don't want to be over, like, I don't really want to be over 40. I'm 35, so I don't want to be over 40 and having kids. Like, I don't want to be an old dad. Like, that's something I'm scared of. It's not to the same degree, but it's something I'm concerned about as well. I think when you're trying to tick, like when you're looking for someone just to tick boxes, I don't think you actually see the people, you see the person, you see the box.
That's right. And I let go of that kind of, like I had a list years ago and I let that go a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like a long time ago. There's a line in my show towards the end of the show where I ask the audience a question. So how am I, how's a woman supposed to find love in this world with all these catches, with all these obstacles and with all the challenges in today's modern dating society? So who do you seek advice from when it comes to longevity of relationships, dating, romance and whatnot?
It's interesting because I probably would have given you a different answer when I was younger, because my parents have never been, I don't know if they'll enjoy being spoken about, but whatever. I've done it a million times and they'll love me no matter what. Mum once told me when I was a kid, even if I did a murder, she'd still love me. So this is not as bad as a murder. But hopefully, no, we haven't done it yet. Haven't finished it yet. But no, like watching them, they were never, like my parents were never in at least in front of me and my sister, physically affectionate or anything. And so as a kid, I suppose you never know your parents really. You don't have those serious conversations with them. You don't know them really as a kid. You don't know who they really are. And then, I've talked to them about it more and more as I've grown up. And, heard stories of how they met on a Kentucky tour. And, Mum says that on the trip, Dad was a bit obnoxious and a bit of a dickhead, like a bit of a dickhead. And I'm like, all right, well then, why years later he now married her? She's like, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I like it. I just like it. And you're like, oh, okay. And then it was really interesting. I was having a conversation once when I was living with them. We went out to dinner one night, and they were saying, like someone they'd run into, an old family friend wanted to have dinner with them, and they were like, oh, I don't know if we could be bothered, sort of thing. And I'm like, no, you gotta get out and meet some people, like do some stuff, like go and, like, why aren't you being more social? Like other people are a lot more social. Like, why aren't you going, like, because they travel a lot together. Like they go on trips and stuff. But I'm like, you got to be more, because I'm a very social person. And I just assume, like, why aren't you got to be going, like, surely you'd be bored of, and they're like, no, we really, like, they just blatantly, they kind of both just looked at each other and went, what are you talking about together? Like, we actually just really genuinely enjoy each other's company. Like we don't, and because they natter and they, like there's a bit of ribbing back and forth constantly. Like they bicker, but they're like, well, we just really enjoy each other's company. And I'm like, oh, all right. Fair. Like, and it like blew my mind. It's such a dumb thing to think about because I'm like, of course they do. They've been married for fucking, like, I don't know, 40 years or some shit now, 30 years, like 30-something years. And they've been like together the whole time. Like there was definitely times they argued, but I don't remember as a kid there has been a time where it's like, oh, Dad moved out for a month. Like there was none of that. Like they always worked it out, even when they were mad at each other. And of course they just fucking, like they're each other's best friends. Like that makes sense. Like, and it's not. And again, they're not all over each other. They're not, they're not mauling each other. And so you think, I suppose we're trained from movies and television shows to think that if you're not constantly shouting at the world that you're in love, then you can't be. Like, again, I think sometimes, and I think Instagram and stuff is only making this worse, love's become a performance, like it's, like I went bushwalking with a friend on the weekend and we're watching, there was this couple and they were both like fucking gorgeous. Like they were clearly fitness models or something. And they were there at this rock park and all it was taking photos and stuff of it. And you're like, I don't know, okay, maybe I'm making assumptions that aren't there, but it didn't seem like they were having fun there together. They were there to do a job. Because they mostly were apart, taking photos of each other. Like they weren't together a lot. But I don't know. But yeah, I think that a lot of the times, sometimes love is a bit of a performance and less about just, and I think that's what I'm, again, I'd never directly ask them for advice on dating or whatever. They constantly tell me, like different little things that how they think I'm tracking, which they definitely think I should have given them grandkids years ago, but they definitely think I'm fucking up a little bit there. But the thing I think I've learned from them, and this is something I'm really sort of searching for, like the thing that I'm keeping in the front of my mind when I'm looking for someone who I want to be with for the rest of my life, is that level of just, I want it to be easy to be around. I want to have fun with them and enjoy, like, in the way that I would with best friends. Like I've got best friends. I've literally got one of my best friends. We've physically been in several fights with each other. We've punched each other in the face. We've tried to choke each other. Like it's gotten, but he's still one of those few people in the world that I'm like, if I'm hanging out I'd still want to hang out with. You know, like if my best friend in the world, Steve, we've argued plenty of times. But if I'm doing something, like if I'm at the beach or something, he's still like, who do I want to do this with? It's them. You know, and that's what I wanted a partner. Some of them, even if they're shitty at it, then they're still the person that I want to be hanging around. Whereas in most cases, what I've found so far in relationships is someone's shitty at me and I'm shitty at them. I want to go as far away from as possible. Like I want nothing to do with it. You know? Yeah. But I think I think it's maybe a bit cliche to say you want a best friend, but I think that's what it is. It's just someone, because what you really sign up for is someone you are making decisions with and you are going to be with for the rest of your life.
That's
hopefully.
Right. Yes.
It's got to be someone you can actually live with, not someone that's all hot and passionate. I mean, passion's great, like absolute passion has its place and it's very important. But I think it's got to be more. It's got to be more about someone you can have fun doing the most boring dumb shit with. Like,
yeah, that's right. So then you touched on this before about love being a performance. So what's your opinion then on people that refuse to put any photos anywhere of the people that they're with? What are your thoughts there on that, Nick?
Well, it depends on the context. If they're flat out refusing, if it's like, look, I'm a person who I don't take a lot of photos myself. So like when I'm in relationships, I've had past girlfriends go, why don't you put more photos up? It's like, I just don't do it. Like if I do take a photo, I'll put it up on Instagram, it's something dumb or it's promo for a show. But if you're flat out refusing to and you're asking if the other person's taking photos and you're going, don't put that up all the time. Like if you're cutting everything out, then there's another reason for it.
What do you think the reason might be, Nick?
There's at least one person, if not more, that you don't want seeing that photo. Like there's a reason. It's like there's a reason, and that I think most of the time it's usually because there's someone else or something like that. You're trying to keep your options open. There's someone else involved, whatever else. It's that you don't want. If you don't, then it boils down to them not wanting other people to know the relationship's a thing. And so I mean that seems pretty clearly that they're hiding something from someone. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes so much sense.
I think it's a pretty clear indication of there's something else going on there. You know?
And what would you say to, for example, if there's one person that does want everyone knowing that they're in a relationship with someone and the other person is like, no, I don't want anything anywhere, what advice would you give to the person that is wanting people to know about the relationship via like maybe one picture? What would your advice be?
I suppose people tell you, like people often, regardless of the words they say, which sometimes are sometimes they're accurate but not always, regardless of what they say, people show you are constantly showing you how they actually feel about you. And it's very easy to buy into your own story in your head about what's going on, but people are very clear about, like, if they're showing you that they don't care and they're not showing up and they're trying to hide you from everybody, they're telling you how they feel about it without telling you. Like, fuck what they say. And they could be writing your sonnets at night every day. Because a conversation is one very easy thing to say, especially if it's over the phone or text. Unless you're actually looking in someone's eyes, there's that level of human connection and empathy. You're just telling a robot what they want to hear, essentially. You're just telling a phone what it wants to hear. And so it doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want. But people are always, and I've got to tell myself this. I'm trying to write a joke at the moment, Carla, and I don't know if people, I don't have to handle it well, because I think from now on, I was going to say, like, my second favourite word is no. Like, yes, obviously it's sick. Like, everyone loves a yes. But my second favourite word is no, because it's just so, like, it's just like yes, you know definitely what's going on. The same with no. Like, if someone tells you no, then I think anything other than a yes really is essentially a no. Because, like, okay, so, like, I recently asked somebody out on a date, and they, like, a month or two ago, I asked someone out on a date, and they said to me, maybe. What they're really saying is no. Yeah. Like, if they wanted to, they would have said yes.
Yes.
What they're saying is no, but they don't want to say no, because people think that no hurts feelings or whatever else. Or, maybe they want to keep the option open. Or what they're really saying is
no.
For whatever connection you see, whatever connection I think is there, they don't see it. Yep. So it's a no. And that's it. Like, if someone's showing you that they don't feel the same way in their actions constantly, then regardless what they say. They're showing you. It's enough. Like, they're not, if you are asking them for something, if you're telling something's important to you and they're going, nah, or no, it's then you're not important to them. Like,
yeah. It's yes, that is correct.
so my advice to that person would be to sell all your assets and come and join me on the cult I'm starting. I mean, not a cult, it's a church. No. It's a bit of levity. But yeah, my advice would be that they're showing you how they feel.
Yeah.
Don't look at the words, because people don't often, most times people don't actually tell you how they really feel. People show you how they feel.
Which is something that I have always preached, and something that I have 90% of the time lived by.
Yeah, but you've got to be, and I know we've said this to each other on a different occasion, but you've got to be your own best friend. Like, you've got to be, because when your best friend's dating someone, your best friend's dating someone and you don't like them, like, you can tell that they're shitty to them or whatever, you don't like the way they're treating your best friend, you have no qualms about saying exactly how you feel. You'll be like, nah, they're being shitty to you. Fuck them. I'll kill them myself. Put them in a ditch. They suck. They don't deserve you. Fuck. I think you got to be your own best friend. You got to listen to what you're telling someone about your own relationship and be like, be your own best friend. Like, no, fuck, I deserve better than that. Like, just like you tell your friend, you're always the first one to tell your best friend, nah, you deserve better. They're not good enough for you. Tell yourself that. Like, I mean, I'm just as guilty of it as you. I don't do it either. Like, I'm not, like, I absolutely, it's something I need to work on. You've got to be, when I say that, I'm saying that to everybody, you've got to be your own best friend. Listen to it as if you're telling the story to someone else, and how would you react? You're like, nah, fuck it. And 90% of the time you're right. Like, people are way better at seeing how a relationship functions than the people in them. And that's the really shitty part of a relationship. While you're in it, you're not really paying attention to what's going on. You're going, I'm getting...
How then do you hold on to hope that there is someone or someone's out there then?
I can't tell you that, because I'm genuinely losing hope myself. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm in a real bad spot with this myself at the moment, so I don't know.
Oh,
like, this is it. Again, I've got to be honest. I can tell you all the answers, but will I listen to it myself? Fuck no. I don't know. I've been a real. I've found, like, in the last couple of years, like, everybody that's been super interested in me, I've not been as keen as them, or, everybody that I've been super keen on has been in no way interested in me. So I don't know. I suppose the only thing I think of is that maybe, like, I hate the old you go and work on yourself or whatever, and then some. I think the thing is, you've got to focus more on the things that you want to do, because that was it. My life. I'll say this about, like, with comedy and that. My life got significantly better when I finally took the step to start doing stand-up comedy, and I met a lot more great people. I know that uncertainty that I had my whole life, going, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know what I want to do. That part is gone.
Yeah, that's good.
And it seems like every time you take that step and you unlock that next thing, things do get easier for you. Like, I've sort of stalled because I stopped working so hard on comedy, and I feel like maybe that's why I'm feeling. Maybe I'm trying to force relationships or whatever, or I'm searching more because I've stalled and I'm looking for that next piece rather than doing the work to find it. Like, when I first took that step to start stand-up comedy, I stopped going, I'm miserable and sad. I went and did something. So maybe, I've got to go and do that, and somewhere along the way you'll meet the right person. I don't know. I've started telling myself for ages that the apps weren't the way to go. And then I met someone in the wild the other day and thought, this is great. They actually asked for my details after they ran into me, had a bit of a chat. It was actually someone who'd seen me do stand-up comedy before. And apparently I had bullied, when I was on stage, I bullied their boyfriend about he wore this giant gold watch. And then she told me, it was great because I actually broke up with him the next day or something like that anyway. And I'm like, that's... And then she goes, we're actually still in the same friend group. Do you want to meet him? And I'm like, not really. She brings him over anyway, introduced me to this guy, and he goes, and she's like, oh, hey, you remember this guy? You remember this comedian? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, oh, how are you, mate? He's like, great. And I'm like, I'm in trouble here. But then she ended up approaching me at the end of the night and asking for my contact details. We went on, again, what I thought was an amazing date. We had a really great time. She basically told me as much. Ended up mauling each other and like making out with each other pretty hard in the middle of a bar in Brisbane. Really good time. Completely ignore my messages, like my message after that. So I don't know, like I have no idea. You know, like every time I think, oh, okay, the apps weren't working. I've got to meet someone in the wild. Then you meet someone in the wild, and it still doesn't work. You're like, this is fucked. Like, this sucks. But
yes,
I suppose you just got to keep going. Like, I don't know what else. What other option is there? Like,
I don't know
what you're doing. I don't know. Maybe. Sorry, I'm not. I know I've sounded like up to this point. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I have all the answers. I really. At the end of the day, I don't have any. I know what to avoid, but I don't know really how to find what you want. Like I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know.
So, what are your deal breakers then, Nick?
I suppose number one, a deal breaker for me is someone. Yeah, like I think from now on, I've learned if someone goes through my phone, I'm walking away. That's it. Like you know, if the trust is gone that quickly, then it's gone. Like you know, once like that's a lesson I've learned from that point. Like once that happens, it's the end, the beginning of the end. Because I've had it happen in a couple of relationships, and it's never a good sign. Not once have they ever actually like found out that I'm doing something crook or whatever. Because I generally really when I'm in a relationship try quite hard, but yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like once that happens, it's a clear indication that there's no trust there. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
One that's hard for me, and we've talked about this before, is that like I really want kids, and quite a few of the people that seem to be attracted to me aren't interested in kids. So that's like I don't know. I think that I suppose you've got to have the same goals. Deal breakers, I don't know what else. I suppose like if I'm not, yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing because I suppose it can be anything. Like it can be the most. Sometimes it can be the most insane thing. You just hear a person say something or whatever, and you're like, yeah. I'm quite like progressive and left wing in a lot of ways, and I have a real issue with private schools. And I've walked away from dates or like short-term relationships or whatever, just because someone said that they would only send their kid to a private school, and I'm like, no, fuck that. I wouldn't send my kid to a private. So like I've literally walked away. Like it's the weirdest thing. It's like when you're actually having kids and you're confronted with that decision, then that's probably something that you can compromise on and come to some sort of understanding or whatever. But I'm walking away on stuff like that. So maybe that's maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. I have no idea. I still haven't worked it out. I know what I want.
Okay, what do you want? What do you want?
Like I said, I want a best friend. I want someone that I just have like enough fun with, even when we're mad at each other. Like we're just doing dumb stuff, going to shops or whatever. Because I've been in relationships where it has been like that. It's been like, you just go to the shops and just stick around or whatever. I have quite a weird sense of humour too. So someone needs to, like, a lot of people sometimes misunderstand when I'm making jokes and that causes problems. Like, they need to understand that most of the time I'm full of shit and just being a dickhead. But, yeah, I suppose I suppose you want a best friend that you're also sexually attracted to.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah, that's good. That's good.
You want to, yeah, I don't know.
Good.
My best friends are great, but they're all dudes, and I mean, as much as I've tried, I'm just not there yet. I just can't.
You can't get there. You can't.
No, it's a real shame. It really would cut some time out for me. Like I think we could have got to the end a lot quicker had other options, but no. So unfortunately, I can't.
It hasn't gone that way.
Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah, it's a real shame.
If you could wave a wand and get everything you ever wanted, timeline-wise, to do with romance, obviously, because that's what we're talking about, what would that look like? Because you're 35 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What, is that rude to say how old you are? Like,
no, not at all. Not at all. I'm 35. Yeah, I'm about to turn 35. I'm 34 yet. Don't round up just yet, but no, I'm 30. I don't mind that at all. No. Timeline-wise, look, I'll be honest, and I suppose I'm in the same boat as you and some other people. Like, timeline, I wish I was further along in that. Like, I wish I'd probably had, in my head, I wish I'd have had kids earlier and had my life a little bit sorted. But that's the timeline stuff is a reflection of some of it I didn't believe myself. Like, I think deep down I've known I wanted to do stand-up comedy or some sort of performance from a very young age. And I spent a long time telling myself that I wasn't good enough. I didn't have the talent. I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those lucky people that gets to do stand-up comedy or whatever. Like I thought with some weird innate skill that they all had that I didn't have. Admittedly, some of it was I didn't know enough about how the industry works and that. But I didn't start that till I was 30. Like I didn't actually take that leap till I was 30. And now I'm on this new journey. If I had had kids when I was 28, this whole section of my life, which is such a big part of me now, wouldn't be there, and I would have been miserable. And that would have come out in the relationship and how I acted as a parent. Yeah. That would have been prevalent, and it would have shaped. And like I think I would have tried my best to be a good father, but there'd always be a little part of me that was like resentful that I didn't get to do what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And so that's one thing now I'm a little bit more understanding timeline-wise, and I do acknowledge that as a man it's a bit different for me timeline-wise. I don't have the pressure of that biological clock, so I understand that that is definitely what do you call it? I'm going to say a privilege, but that's not the word I'm thinking of. That is a
freedom
that I have, yeah. But that I am not trying not to sweat the timeline, because I think I've seen other people do it. That's when you end up in a relationship that's not what you want and not right anyway, and that's also going to lead you to divorce. So, like, I've got to. It's going to happen when it's the right time for me to do it, and I can make it work. And I'm glad, even though I wish it had happened earlier, I'm glad it did, because it's got me to be doing something that is feeding my soul in a different way that I wouldn't have liked to continue my life not knowing what that's like, not knowing what it's like to actually take that step to do the thing that I knew I've always wanted to do. So in that space, like, hopefully it happens soon, because as I said, I don't want to be an old dad. Like, I don't want to be a 45-year-old kid. Like, I'm in fucking bad enough shape now. By the time I'm fucking 45, I won't be able to run around after a 2-year-old. And I really want to be an active dad. Like, I really want to be taken to the park. And that's another thing I think now, if I can get to a certain point of stand-up where I can make somewhat of a living out of it by the time I get there, then it'll work. I can be a stay-at-home dad. I'll stay at home during the day. And I think that's why in the performing arts you need that partnership. Is really important to have kids, like a really effective working partnership, because you've got to be able to juggle it so everyone can do the things they need to do. So that's where I can step up and go, look, fuck, I'll stay home with the kid. I'll play with them. I'll do some house, I'll do the housework. I'll fucking cook and clean. 'Cause I actually quite like cooking. Don't like cleaning, but I can get it done. But, looking after kids and shit, that's something I can fucking run around playing, be a dickhead with the kids all day, teach them crazy stuff, like have a good time. And then spend some time with the partner at night, go to work quickly, go get the job done, come home and go away for a little bit or whatever. I think you can make it work if it's an effective partnership. And I think I'll be a better father when the time comes, and a better partner, because I'm not missing that other part of my life.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you've made, Nick. I think that's really important. And that's a good insight to have, I think, because a lot of people unfortunately have kids as Band-Aids, and unfortunately can be manipulated into having kids, and can be forced into having kids when, they may not have wanted to, or the timing wasn't right, or whatever it is. And then that obviously trickles down into the type of parent that they are. So it's good that you have worked out what that void was and that you are able to articulate that. That's really important.
Yeah, very good.
So there's this kind of game thing that I do on occasion, and I think I might do it with you. So there's this book called He's Just Not That Into You, right? You would have heard of it before.
I'm familiar, yeah.
But it's the your daily wake-up call version. It's like a smaller version of the actual book, and it's just got sayings in it. It's got, let's see how many sayings it has.
It looks to be still as thick as the actual book.
Yeah, but it's just tiny. It's just a tiny one.
I'm just holding it very close to the camera.
Yeah, I'm holding it super close to the camera. Yeah.
Hold it closer to your face so I can see it.
And because my hands are so tiny, everything.
It just looks like it just Thank God for that, am I right? Hey! Together.
Okay, so it's got
You can cut that out if you want.
It's got 273 sayings in it, okay? So I'm going to flip through the book. I'm going to read one of the quotes or sayings or whatever, and I want you to expand on it, give your opinion, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Go for it. Yeah, make it a good one. I want to sound smart.
It doesn't count unless he says it when he's sober. And I love you, or any semblance thereof, while under the influence of anything stronger than grape juice, won't hold up in court or in life. Thoughts?
And thank God that's the case, because the amount of dumb shit I've said drunk, man. And I think that there's a thing, people, I think there's a misconception there. People go, oh no, when you're drunk, you speak the truth. That's not true. That's not true at all. There might be some semblance of truth, but then when you're drunk, people go on about weed, making you paranoid. Being drunk makes you way more paranoid and way more like depressed than anything else. So of course, when you're drunk, you take the tiniest thought and then you blow it out of proportion. And it doesn't. And so even again, I think like the ecstasy and like the reference there to like anything other than grape juice. I love you with anything other than a shot of grape juice or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I think once I'm drunk, I tell everyone I love. Even dude, like you'd be at the bar with the arm around some guy. You probably, if you met on the street, you want to box in the face. You're like, yeah, you're a good bloke, but I've mended fences with people that I still hate. Like just because you're like, I'm drunk. You're like, nah, you're not that bad a guy. Whatever. Let's have a fucking. And you're like, no, actually, that guy's a real piece of shit. I want to be friends with him. Like that's. So I do think that that's absolutely probably very accurate. You're not. People think you tell the truth when you're drunk. I think you're not your true self when you're drunk. That's. I definitely am not the best version of myself drunk. I like to. There's a level where I'm fun and I'm having a good time, and I party. I can be a great time, but I wouldn't say that that's the truest version of myself at all.
Right. Good. I like that. Yeah. Look. If the only time a dude is saying sweet nothings to me is when they're intoxicated, then really, yeah.
Yeah. Again, people show you how they mean. Like people show you, like if they're drunk and they're saying it and then they don't when they're sober, they're showing you they're just, again, it's just that thing. Yeah, full of shit. Yeah. People are full of shit. People are so full of shit. If we were way more straightforward with what we want, I think, and people are so scared, like,
yeah, but see, this is the thing, Nick.
Yeah.
When I am straightforward, like I am very transparent on my socials because my show at the moment is about relationships, love, lust, all that kind of stuff. So I can be transparent about that stuff.
Yeah.
If a guy wants to date me, literally all they have to do is go through my socials, have a bit of a read, and they'll get an insight of what I want and what I don't want. So there's probably pros and cons to that. I'm giving them everything up front, like you said before they've even...
Look, hey, I'm in a very similar boat, and I keep mistakenly telling, when I start dating someone else, I'll make a mistake of telling them that I have a podcast, which was a year of me essentially having an emotional breakdown.
Yes.
And like
it's a good
documenting
podcast,
that.
Though.
People love it. And I'm really proud of it as a whole, but it was very emotionally taxing, and it really has left me led a lot better. So people can, sometimes I worry that's sometimes these things where people don't get back to me, I think, they've listened to the podcast and then they've gone, not for me. And then rather than
that's what I worry about with this podcast too. Yeah.
But again, if that's the case, you're not turning away people that we're ever going to actually work out to start with. Because if you're being open and honest and they're hearing that and going, no, then that was never going to work out to start with.
Yeah.
Like that was never, if you're being upfront with what you want and they say no to that, like that is, unfortunately, that actually is the desired result in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that is the system working as it should. Like if you're being open and honest upfront and people aren't into that, then that's good. You don't want to be with someone who's not in you. You don't want to be with someone who's not into the actual the real version.
Yeah.
Of stuff. You don't want. And I got to tell myself that all the time. Like every time someone's like, I've only really been broken up with once in a relationship, and I took it real hard. I took it real fucking hard. But what I had to really get to myself was like, why would I want it? Because I tried to a few times to get him back, and every day I was like, what if I go into her office building playing a love song, thinking about all these things. Like at the end of the day, it's as simple as if she doesn't want to be with me, why the fuck would I want to be with her? She doesn't like me. She doesn't like me. She's told me that. She's shown me that. She's walked away. She doesn't like me. Why be with someone that doesn't like you? And I think that's the biggest thing. We all try and force ourselves, or we're trying to, to think we have to be with someone. It's more important to be with someone than to be with someone who likes you. And if you can't find anyone like you who likes you, then immediately, then you just got to wait until you do. Like, I don't know, it's hard because I need to say that to myself. But I forget where I was going with that. I talk in circles so much. I'm so full of shit. So full of shit. But
no, this is
what was
good.
the question? What'd you ask first?
I don't even remember now. I don't know.
Me neither.
I think, you make a good point in that, why would I want to spend time with somebody who isn't interested in what I have to offer? Relationship.
Yeah, that's it.
What's the point?
And that's the point I know. If everyone just said exactly how they felt and we were okay with that, like that's the other half of it. You have to be okay with hearing what you don't want to hear. Like, that's right. When I'm talking about this yes or no joke, like you have to be. I think we should live in a world where it's very acceptable for you meet a girl you like or whatever. Okay, like, and even just down to if you just want sex, if that's the thing. If you meet a person, you go, hey, I'd like to have sex with you. And they go, oh, no, that's not something I want to have sex with you. You go, okay. And then you all live on with your life. You all move on with your life.
That's not how it goes. That's
not how it goes. And also because, certain people would, certain people would be coughing that all the time. And that makes, I suppose it makes people less uncomfortable. I think the thing that makes people uncomfortable about it is they don't know how the reaction is going to be. And so,
but usually,
if the reaction is always just accepting it and moving away, then
But usually, if from my experience, if guys just want to have sex, they do so much more to disguise that and make you think they want more than just sex, and then you are left confused.
Because I suppose it's sort of because everyone's so like that, people don't say what they want. I don't know. I think that there's like a level of like, it's like to just want sex or to want to have, like sex is still somewhat a bit of a shameful thing and a bit of a weird topic we haven't really worked out how to deal with yet. So I think like for a guy, number one, they think that if they just say they just want sex, that they won't, like that is a manipulation thing. Again, that's not being honest because they're just saying whatever they want to have sex. But you have to be able to accept that if someone doesn't want to have sex with you, it's not going to happen. Or it shouldn't happen. Even if you have to lie to them or whatever, then that's not good either. Like, that's not great. Like, you shouldn't be having sex with that person. Like, I think that's the thing. To bring up using the sex example is probably a weird example of dude brain and how, like that's a fucking terrible example, but that's out of my mind. But, if people were just flat out honest all the time, life would be so much easier for everybody because it's just, that's it. Look, I mean, and I know that that's probably a crazy pipe dream, utopian, lefty, like impossible stuff. But if it was acceptable to be brutally honest all the time too, I suppose then maybe we'd all walk around with hurt feelings all the time. But I don't know, I suppose if there's enough of it, you don't take it personally anymore, maybe too. Like if there's enough of you just being honest with somebody and then other people giving you honest answers, then maybe we're all used to honesty a bit more and all take it a bit less hard. Like when it is, we'll take it back to when I was talking at the start about how, had such a bad experience the first time I asked a girl out, and that stayed with me for a while. So I was scared to then do that again. And I'm still scared now. Like I'm still as a grown up. I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
The last couple of years I've actually got a lot better at it. But again, it's more an accumulation of a numbers thing. Like I've done it enough times now to know that it's not the end of the world. But at that time, when that first time I did it, and then it felt like it felt horrible because then it was a really bad thing. Like I asked her out, she said yes. And I was so excited. At school the next day, she avoids me and then makes out with another dude. Like that was such a painful thing.
Yeah.
But now I don't want to be honest anymore. I don't want to just ask the question. I'm scared of it. And I think that's how we all end up. Again, I've forgotten where I was going with that, but
made some very good points. It's so hard though. Like I'm just at the point where I don't know. I just feel like I just want to throw everything up in the air and just be like, whatever. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's just, I don't know. It's just so disheartening though, Nick.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm very disheartened, and I am now, like to speak of myself now, I'm less the person that I'd want to be dating, sort of thing. Like I'm a bit more, I am a little bit more callous and now, and a bit less. Like I don't know if I do. Like when I said that, maybe it's just I haven't met the right person again. But when I said at the start that when I found that girl I really liked or whatever, and I made her the Maltesers in the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, that was so cute. That was cute.
It is. I don't think I'd do that now. Like
now, see, I wouldn't do that shit now either. Like, I used to make efforts with like cards and letters and favourite locations that they had, and I used to make fucking efforts. And I think the longest relationship I had really drummed that out of me because he didn't appreciate any of those efforts and actually used to mock me and give me shit when I used to give him thoughtful gifts. So I just got to the point where I was like, well, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah,
I'm going to get some blocks, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you get. And it sucks because that's not. I don't think that's really the partner I want to be. Like, you watch. Like I don't know if you've read Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally's book, where it's their conversations about their relationship and stuff. And it's not. I think the partner I'd want to be is someone who's excited to do nice things for the other person again.
Yeah,
that is. I'm not at that point right now anymore. Like I'm kind of a lot more blasé about it, and it's fucking, and I don't like it, but it's how I am, and it sucks. Like I don't know. Like I said, it is just come from a place of just being really disheartened about it all, because you get your hopes up, you think this is going to be great, and then it doesn't happen.
You do. You get your hopes up, and you start, projecting into the future, thinking things will happen and all that kind of stuff, and then it's just like, oh, okay.
I think the biggest thing for people in me and your situation we can do, and I need to maybe think of this, is stop looking at the goal and just take the journey sort of thing. Like stop focusing on the end goal so much. Like, because that's I'm always every time I enter any sort of new relationship, my first thought is, do I think this could go anywhere? Yeah. And that's not.
But really, what do you do though? We're not like spring chickens anymore, Nick.
I think you as much as that sucks, you've got to take that out of the equation. Timing, as much as it is a thing, and I understand it's different for me. Again, as I'm a man, I don't have that biological clock. But I think if you really, I'm aware of it that I'm in a different position. But I think that really, if what we want is that the right relationship to be in, that fulfilling partnership, it has to. It's going to take however long it takes. Like that's the key. It'll show up at the right time or whatever. Things will work out not when they're supposed to, or the universe is mysterious sort of way, but when something's right, it will go at the pace that it meant to, and that might be a fast pace, or whatever. But because the person that we're with are connected and it's going the way it should. And I think worrying too much about how quickly we can get to that end point, because if we don't run out of time, it's probably just going to make it take longer,
Yeah,
because we're not making
the point.
Yeah, we're not making the decision to enjoy the relationship we're in or whatever, and that's what makes those relationships great, is that you're in the moment, you're enjoying that, you're like, wow, I love this person, this is really fulfilling and wonderful, this is a person I could have that partnership with. Instead, you're like, all right, does he want to have kids? Yeah, he does. Or does she want to have kids? Yeah, she wants to have kids. All right, do I think that she's like, and I'm on dates not thinking about, am I really enjoying this person's company? Or is this no? Because look, and this is again really too much about myself. I'm very good at getting to know people. I can have pleasant conversations with almost anybody.
Yes, you can. Yes, you
Absolutely. I can get along with it. I can make it work. And so it's like a little bit of it, and that's what I mean. Sometimes it's performance for me too. Like I can be chatting to someone that I fucking hate and still and that. And again, like on a date thing, like I have great dates all the time.
Yes, you do. You're a very charming human. You're a very charming human. Yeah, you are. Very charming. Okay, I want to ask you one more question before I love and leave you. What are your thoughts on the importance of consistency when dating and or in a relationship?
I think they're very important, and this is sometimes like a failure of mine because I'm not always consistent.
In what way?
I am scatterbrained. I forget things. I often book more than I can handle. Like I say yes to a lot of stuff because I'm not great at keeping track of stuff. So I'm like, yeah, cool, yeah, I can do that. And then it'll be like, oh shit, I know I was going to come to this thing, but I've also got this thing. Can we go to both? I usually try and cooperate and whatever to work it out. But I think that sometimes I definitely start real strong, and then I get lazy. I think that's it. I go real hard and I get lazy. I think that's it. I'm lazy and I'm messy, and so consistency isn't something that I'm particularly great at myself.
Okay, so what about relationships,
but it is important.
though? What about relationships?
What do you mean?
Are you consistent with, do you do hot and cold stuff, or are you consistent when you like someone, are you consistent with the flame? Or are you like 1 minute you're like, oh, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to test the waters, and then no, today I'm going to jump on in and do this?
When I'm in a serious relationship, I'm very consistent, I think. But then I think the times when I haven't been is usually probably when I'm on the way out. Like when I already know it's going badly, and so I start avoiding things and dealing with things poorly because I am a coward as well. Like I know that I have been. Maybe I'm not. I am a coward, but I have acted in cowardly ways in the past. I've done the same dumb things. I get so frustrated when people ghost me. But I think about the course of my life, I definitely just like take my hands off the wheel enough and just hope it steers itself into the ground, if that makes sense. Rather than dealing with something up front, I'll just back away. And that's probably also why I haven't actually found anybody that I probably don't deserve a great relationship at the moment because I do shit like that. So
no, I don't think there's the whole deserving or not deserving thing. No, I disagree with that. You don't, Nick. Come on, you do deserve. Everyone deserves the relationship that they desire, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And I think short answer, I used to be consistent. Like with when I talk about that long-term relationship, I was quite consistent in that I was always, for the large chunk of that relationship, as things started going pretty badly. Even if I wasn't doing the same things I used to do, everything I was doing, like the things I was doing might have changed. Like I was working harder, trying to make more money or whatever. So I might have been doing less of the nice little things or spending quality time, but everything I was doing was for the benefit of the relationship long term.
Right.
And I think so. My actions might not have been consistent, but my goals were, but they weren't seen that way. Maybe whereas now I'm probably less consistent.
Right. Do you think that that's a self-preservation thing?
Yeah.
The way you just answered that. Yep.
Absolutely. It is the thing. Like you burn up so much energy for people, and then it doesn't get returned, or it blows up in your face. You're like, well, what could I have done with that energy instead?
Yeah. Why did I make the effort? Why did I even fucking bother? Yeah. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for the listener, Nick?
Even though I don't always listen to this myself, like what we were saying before, absolute honesty. Whenever I've actually nutted up and done it, it's worked. Like it's being really upfront with people is way more effective than you think it's going to. Everyone's so scared of how other people are going to react, and like some people might react badly. Some people might flip out and go way over the top, but you can't control what other people are doing. But if you're honest and straightforward, then then it will, things will be will go a lot smoother. And I think, and it does tend to work out. And I think, again, something I don't often follow myself, but I wish I did more. Being really positive and friendly and giving, I think, is definitely something we don't do enough of as adults. Like as kids, you're taught to do it. Like you're taught to never, always look out for your friends and always do the right thing and, always be kind. The world benefit a lot from people who are just being that little bit brave and being kind in circumstances where they might not want to be or you might be too scared to be. I think that often that little bit of extra love to someone that might not deserve it. I mean, not in a relationship term or whatever, but just in how we treat other people. I think that little bit extra love sometimes, even when you don't want to do it or whatever, can actually have way more positive effects than we think. And I think that goes to the being honest thing. It's like, if you're really upfront with someone about how you feel, then I think it's almost always way more positive. And then it often will force them to be, not force, but they'll end up being honest in return, and you can actually get to a better place quicker.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nick, for coming on today. It has been an excellent conversation.
Bit of a journey.
I've learned so much. And some other things are definitely just cemented that I already knew about you, but I'm looking forward to the listener, absorbing your genius and your life experience and your funny ha-ha stuff. So that's really cool. Thank you.
No dramas at all. No dramas at all. If you want to see my Instagram full of dumb photos of me trying to be funny or whatever and just me promoting shows, I used to be at Car Crash Pod, but as my podcast, which was called Car Crash, has somewhat abruptly disappeared into the netherworld, you can now find me at Nick Carr Official. And I think I see a double.
I even follow that now?
Yeah, it's still the same.
Oh.
I just changed it up. So, yeah, if you're already following me, it's the same account. I've just changed the username. But that's probably the best place to keep track of what I'm doing. If you want to come and see shows or whatever, I'm all over Brisbane, and Queensland, Gold Coast at the moment. Yeah. Excellent, Nick. Thank you. No worries. Thanks for having me on, Carl. This has been a wonderful conversation. And I know we talked about doing this ages ago. I'm glad we finally got around to it because, I feel like we're both at a point where we've got a lot to say about it. Does that make sense? And especially, I suppose, because of our somewhat unique personal history, I think that helps the conversation as well. I don't know. I think so too. The Catch-a-Lorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Catch-a-Lorette and friends. See you next time if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.